Okay, let's do the hourglass block and what I'm calling the glass half full block, which is like the half hourglass block, which is this one. I'll show you. It looks like this. Boop, boop. Be-doop. That's the glass half full. I don't know. I'm just making it up. These are really pretty straightforward. The way that we're doing them, again, you're just making two, at least for the hourglass, you're going to make two halves, and then you put those two halves together. So there are no Y seams or any crazy things like that. It's just half and half, and then those two together. The hardest part is keeping them all organized. So when I'm piecing stuff like this, I tend not to like over pull, try to do too many blocks at once. So this one is D6, and so I'm saying, okay, I'm just going to focus on making D6 and then this F1 here, and so I'm just going to do those two because this has 4 different fabrics in it. I'm pulling all these different things off my plates. It's too easy to get mixed up if I was going to do like say those 3. They're completely different blocks, so it's better to just focus on these, get those 2 done, and then move on. All right, I think I talked about this in a previous video, but I use a leader, so you can see it's getting pretty scrappy, but it's still fine. I like to use it so that when my first point goes under, it doesn't get eaten by my machine. I have a really wonderful Janome machine, and I love it very much, but it does like to eat corners sometimes. And you'll notice these ones, oh yeah, because my templates had the little pre-trimmed corners, so they're already trimmed, which is great. So I'll put these 2 together first. Okay, I'm going to keep it in my machine and just chain piece, do the next 2 together, the other half. All right. Did I do that right? We'll find out any minute. Yeah, we did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Okay. Set my leader aside. All right, so now I'm going to open these up and have a look again and just sort of reorg. That's color 1 and that's color 14. So what I'll probably do is iron the seam on this one up to this side and iron the seam on this one down, okay? So that when we put these halves together, we can nest the seams together nicely, all right? So I'm gonna iron them really quickly. See, again, I do a little bit of finger pressing just to open them up. There's one half, here's the other half. Okay, so now these 2, I can nest the seams so you can feel that those seams just tuck in really nicely together, see? And that way you'll have everything lined up. All right, that's a little, if you're newer to quilting, anytime you can nest seams, it really helps you line up the seams nicely. So anytime you can iron to take advantage of it. There are some times that you can't, and that's when you use extra pins to hold the seams together. And if it's not perfect, then you just move on because no one is going to notice. I mean, no one who's a non-quilter is going to notice. It's surprising, like you can get so focused on the little things and not think about the bigger picture when you're quilting. And I'm not a perfectionist. There are some people when I teach workshops, there are some people who are very particular, and that's great. But I just think, like, don't let it frustrate you. If it's frustrating you and it's not 100% perfect, move on. there's that. This is the hourglass. Boom. Okay, and then with this center seam, I could iron it open or iron it to one side, whichever works. I might just iron it open just to, yeah, we'll see. Okay, so that's it. All right, that's the hourglass. Pretty, look at those colors. And then the half hourglass is really, it's the same thing. You're just piecing these two together to make one half, and then what I would do is for these ones, I would iron the seam open and then piece them to this one. So I'll do it really quick. And you know what? We'll flip it this way so I'm not putting a point into my machine. So I know sometimes it's annoying to have to stop and iron before you do the next step, but it's really best to iron whenever you can. Because if I were to piece this together without ironing it, it just might end up a little mucky. A little mucky. Okay, there. All right, so I've ironed the seam open on this one. And I'm gonna go right sides together. Matching the points. And for this one, I mean, I am gonna throw pins in because this fabric is kind of slippy. And again, I'm just gonna reiterate, especially because we have all these curves and funny little blocks, that finished is better than perfect, okay guys? It's sort of that old saying, and I really like it because why should all your work be 100% perfect? You want it to look handmade, right? You want people to know that it wasn't made by a machine. So, and I'd much rather have a finished quilt than a perfect quilt. Cool. Take my little leader off, and there we go. There's the glass half full block, and that one is, I'm calling it F1, but look at, I put the 1 in here, and I almost got confused. I thought that was a #1 fabric, but it's not. It's a background fabric, but it's the first of this series, okay? And I think there's only one of those in here. So, done. Check it off the list. All right, guys. Have a good night. Happy sewing.